The psychology of people who never feel good enough. Have you ever looked at your life and wondered why nothing ever feels like it's enough? You work hard, yet you feel behind. You achieve goals that once seemed impossible, but instead of feeling proud, you immediately start chasing the next one. You receive compliments, yet somehow your mind convinces you that people are just being nice. You compare yourself to strangers on the internet and somehow conclude that everyone else has figured life out except you. If this sounds familiar, you are not alone. Millions of people carry around an invisible burden every single day. They smile in public, celebrate their achievements, and continue pushing forward. But deep inside, they live with a quiet voice that constantly whispers, "You're still not enough." The strange thing is that this voice doesn't disappear when life gets better. It doesn't disappear after success. It doesn't disappear after money. It doesn't disappear after recognition. In many cases, it actually becomes louder. That is because the problem has never been your circumstances. The problem is the way your mind has learned to measure your worth. More than 2,000 years ago, the Roman emperor and Stoic philosopher Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts." Think about that for a moment. He didn't say your happiness depends on your wealth. He didn't say it depends on your appearance, your status, or the approval of other people. He said it depends on the quality of your thoughts. In other words, your mind can become either your greatest ally or your worst enemy. Today, we're going to uncover the psychology behind why some people never feel good enough, no matter how much they accomplish. More importantly, we're going to discover how Stoicism offers a timeless solution that is just as powerful today as it was in ancient Rome. Because once you understand this truth, you'll stop chasing a version of yourself that never actually existed. You'll finally begin to appreciate the person you're becoming. One of the greatest mistakes people make is believing that confidence is something they earn. They believe confidence comes after success, after making more money, after losing weight, after becoming more attractive, after getting married, after building the perfect career. Life becomes one giant if. If I can just achieve this one thing, then I'll finally feel worthy. But have you noticed something interesting? There are celebrities with millions of fans who still feel insecure. There are billionaires who constantly fear losing everything. There are world-class athletes who secretly believe they aren't good enough. There are beautiful people who spend hours criticizing themselves in the mirror. How is that possible? Because confidence was never hiding inside success. The feeling of not enough doesn't disappear when your life changes. It simply finds something new to attach itself to. As the Stoic philosopher Epictetus once said, "It is not things themselves that disturb us, but our judgments about them." That single sentence explains why two people can experience exactly the same situation, but respond completely differently. One person loses their job and sees it as the end of the world. Another sees it as an opportunity to begin again. One person receives criticism and falls apart. Another receives criticism and grows stronger. The event isn't what creates suffering. The meaning you assign to it does. If your mind has learned to interpret every mistake as proof that you are not enough, then no amount of external success will ever convince you otherwise. Your mind will simply move the finish line again. This is exactly why so many people live their entire lives chasing a feeling they never catch. Imagine running a marathon where someone secretly moves the finish line every time you get close. Would you ever feel successful? Of course not. That is exactly what insecurity does. Every achievement becomes temporary. Every victory lasts only a moment before your inner critic says, "Okay, what's next?" That voice isn't motivating you, it's imprisoning you. Seneca once observed, "We suffer more often in imagination than in reality." Most people think they are suffering because of their lives. In truth, they are suffering because of the stories they keep telling themselves about their lives. Your brain is constantly narrating your experience. If the narrator is always saying you're behind, you'll believe you're behind. If the narrator constantly says everyone else is better than you, your mind will begin searching for evidence to support that belief. Psychologists call this confirmation bias. The Stoics understood this centuries before modern psychology gave it a name. The mind believes what it repeatedly hears, which brings us to one of the deepest reasons people never feel good enough. Childhood. Not because we should blame our parents for everything, but because childhood is where many of our beliefs about ourselves are formed. Perhaps you only received praise when you got excellent grades. Perhaps mistakes were met with disappointment instead of understanding. Perhaps affection felt conditional. You slowly learned a dangerous lesson. I am valuable only when I perform. As a child, that belief helped you survive. As an adult, it quietly destroys your peace. You begin chasing achievement not because you love growth, but because you're trying to earn permission to like yourself. That is why some of the hardest working people are also the most insecure. They aren't driven by passion, they're driven by fear. Fear of not being enough, fear of disappointing others, fear of being ordinary. Marcus Aurelius once reminded himself, "Very little is needed to make a happy life. It is all within yourself." Notice how different that is from the message the modern world gives us. Today we're told happiness is somewhere outside of us. A bigger house, a better body, more followers, more money, more attention, more success. The Stoics challenged that entire way of thinking. They believe that when your peace depends on external things, your peace is never truly yours, because external things can disappear overnight. Money can be lost, beauty fades, careers change, relationships end, public opinion shifts. If your identity depends on these things, your identity becomes fragile. The Stoics wanted something stronger. They wanted a self that could not be destroyed by circumstance. That is true freedom. Another trap people fall into is comparison. Comparison has existed since the beginning of humanity, but social media has made it relentless. You wake up and immediately see someone announcing an engagement, someone buying a house, someone traveling the world, someone launching a successful business, someone achieving the goal you're still dreaming about. Without realizing it, your brain begins keeping score. You start measuring your ordinary Tuesday against someone else's highlight reel. Then you wonder why you feel inadequate. Seneca warned against this long before smartphones existed. He understood that envy steals contentment. The Stoic does not ask, "Why is their life better than mine?" Instead, the Stoic asks, "Am I living according to my own values today?" That question changes everything, because suddenly your life is no longer a competition. It's a practice. You're no longer racing strangers. You're becoming a better version of yourself. And that journey never requires comparison. The people who seem the most confident often aren't those with the easiest lives. They're the ones who stopped allowing other people to define their worth. Epictetus once said, "First say to yourself what you would be, then do what you have to do." Notice he didn't say, "Wait for everyone else to approve." He didn't say, "Become famous first." He didn't say, "Make sure no one criticizes you." He simply said to decide who you want to become and then live accordingly. That is where confidence is born, not in applause, not in perfection, but in consistency between your values and your actions. Most people are waiting to feel confident before they begin. The Stoics would tell you the opposite. Act with courage first. Confidence follows. Every courageous decision becomes evidence that you are stronger than your fear. Every honest conversation proves you can handle discomfort. Every failure survived reminds you that your value was never tied to the outcome. Little by little, your identity changes. Not because the world changed, because you did. One of the greatest illusions people live under is the belief that perfection will finally bring them peace. If I can just fix this one flaw, if I can just make a little more money, if I can just become more successful, then, and only then, I'll finally be happy. But perfection is like the horizon. No matter how far you walk, it keeps moving. This is why perfectionists are rarely satisfied. They finish one project and immediately criticize it. They accomplish one goal and instantly focus on everything they haven't achieved. They receive praise, but instead of accepting it, they point out all the things they could have done better. To everyone else, they seem driven. Inside, they are exhausted. Seneca once wrote, "He suffers more than necessary who suffers before it is necessary." Perfectionists suffer twice. They suffer before they even begin because they fear failure. Then they suffer after succeeding because they believe it wasn't enough. Their mind never allows them to rest. Stoicism teaches us something radically different. It teaches us to pursue excellence without becoming attached to perfection. There is a difference. Excellence says, "I will give my best." Perfection says, "My best will never be enough." One mindset creates peace. The other creates endless anxiety. Marcus Aurelius understood this well. As emperor, every decision he made affected millions of lives. Yet instead of demanding perfection from himself, he simply focused on doing what was right in each moment. He once wrote, "If it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it." Notice what he focused on. Not perfection, not public approval, only character. When character becomes your goal, failure loses much of its power. You may fail at a task, but you have not failed as a person. That distinction changes everything. Another reason people never feel good enough is because they confuse what they do with who they are. You fail an exam, suddenly you're stupid. A relationship ends, now you're unlovable. Your business struggles, now you're a failure. Do you see what happened? An event became an identity. The Stoics refused to make that mistake. To them, failure was information, not identity. Epictetus taught that no external event has the power to define your character unless you allow it to. Life can knock you down. It cannot decide who you are. Only you can do that. Imagine a sculptor standing before a block of marble. Each strike of the chisel removes something unnecessary. The sculptor doesn't panic every time a piece falls away. He knows the masterpiece is being revealed. Life works the same way. Every setback removes arrogance. Every disappointment teaches patience. Every hardship develops resilience. What feels like destruction is often refinement. This is why Marcus Aurelius welcomed adversity instead of running from it. He famously wrote, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." Most people ask, "Why is this happening to me?" The Stoic asks, "What is this trying to teach me?" That question transforms suffering into wisdom. It changes you from a victim into a student, and students always grow. Let's talk about approval. This is one of the strongest addictions in modern society. People crave validation almost as much as they crave food or water. A compliment can make someone's entire day. One negative comment can ruin their entire week. Why? Because they've handed other people control over their emotional life. Epictetus once said, "If you seek truth, you will not seek victory by dishonorable means. And if you find truth, you will become invincible." The Stoics understood that your peace cannot depend on the applause of people whose opinions constantly change. Think about how exhausting it is to build your identity around pleasing everyone. You begin editing your personality. You stop expressing your real thoughts. You avoid difficult conversations. You say yes when your heart is screaming no. Eventually, you don't even know who you are anymore. You've spent so long becoming what everyone else wanted that you've forgotten what you wanted. True freedom begins the moment you stop asking, "Do they approve of me?" and start asking, "Do I approve of the person I'm becoming?" That is a question only you can answer. Marcus Aurelius ruled the most powerful empire in the world, yet he constantly reminded himself that fame was temporary. He wrote that those who praise you today will themselves soon be forgotten. Think about that. The opinions you're sacrificing your peace for belong to people who are dealing with their own fears, insecurities, and struggles. Why should their temporary opinions determine your permanent self-worth? Another hidden cause of feeling inadequate is the spotlight effect. Psychologists use this term to describe our tendency to believe everyone is paying attention to us. You think everyone noticed your mistake. Everyone remembers your embarrassing moment. Everyone is judging you. But the truth is much simpler. Most people are thinking about themselves. They're worried about how they look, what people think of them, whether they're succeeding. They're not spending nearly as much time analyzing you as you imagine. Realizing this is incredibly freeing. It means you're allowed to make mistakes. You're allowed to be imperfect. You're allowed to learn publicly. The Stoics embraced this truth. They understood that embarrassment only has power if you decide it does. There is another dangerous habit that keeps people trapped. They confuse productivity with worth. If they're busy, they feel valuable. If they're resting, they feel guilty. If they take a break, they feel lazy. This is why so many people burn out. They aren't working because they love what they do. They're working because they believe stopping would expose the truth that they're not enough. Seneca warned against becoming a slave to endless busyness. He believed many people were busy simply to avoid confronting themselves. Think about your own life. How often do you keep yourself occupied because silence makes you uncomfortable? Because in silence, that inner voice returns. The voice that says you're behind, that you're failing, that you're wasting your life. The Stoics didn't run from silence. They entered it willingly. Marcus Aurelius filled his private journal with reflections that later became meditations. He wasn't writing for fame. He was training his own mind. He understood that before you can master your life, you must first master your thoughts. Every day he reminded himself what truly mattered. Not wealth, not reputation, not comfort, wisdom, justice, courage, self-control. These were the qualities no one could take away from him. Ask yourself this question. If everything you own disappeared tomorrow, would you still know who you are? If the answer is no, then your identity has become attached to things that were never meant to define you. The Stoics built their lives differently. They built their identity on virtues rather than possessions, because virtues cannot be stolen. No one can steal your integrity. No one can steal your courage. No one can steal your compassion. Those are choices, and every single day, you get to choose them again. That is why Stoicism remains so powerful after more than 2,000 years. It reminds us that our greatest possession is not what we own. It is who we become. The final and perhaps most important lesson Stoicism teaches is this. Your value has never been something you had to earn. It has always been something you have forgotten. Think about how much of your life has been spent chasing proof that you matter. You wanted better grades so you could feel intelligent, a better body so you could feel attractive, a better job so you could feel successful, a better relationship so you could feel loved. But every time you reached one destination, another one appeared. The finish line kept moving because the race itself was built on a false belief, the belief that your worth is conditional. The Stoics rejected that idea completely. They believed that the only thing truly within your control was your character. Everything else could change without warning. Your health could change. Your finances could change. Your relationships could change. Your reputation could change. Even your life could change in a single moment. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." Those words are just as powerful today as they were nearly 2,000 years ago. Most people spend their lives trying to control what cannot be controlled. They want everyone to like them. They want life to be fair. They want success without setbacks. They want certainty in an uncertain world. When reality refuses to cooperate, they become frustrated. The Stoics chose a different path. Instead of controlling the world, they learned to control themselves. Imagine standing in the middle of a storm. You cannot stop the rain. You cannot command the wind. You cannot silence the thunder. But you can decide how you respond. That is the Stoic mindset. Life will bring criticism. It will bring heartbreak, failure, loss. disappointment. These things are unavoidable. Suffering, however, is often created by the story we attach to them. Epictetus once said, "Make the best use of what is in your power and take the rest as it happens." Read that again. How much of your stress comes from fighting reality instead of accepting it? Acceptance is not weakness. Acceptance is clarity. It is looking at life exactly as it is instead of wishing it were different. Only then can you act wisely. This is why Stoicism is not about suppressing emotions. It is about refusing to let emotions become your master. Fear will visit you. You don't have to invite it to stay. Doubt will knock on your door. You don't have to give it a permanent room in your mind. Negative thoughts will appear. You don't have to believe every single one of them. Marcus Aurelius understood this better than anyone. Despite ruling an empire during wars, plagues, and political conflict, he continually reminded himself that peace begins within, not because life was easy, because his perspective was disciplined. Every morning he prepared himself for difficult people, unexpected problems, and disappointment. Not to become pessimistic, but to become resilient. If you expect life to be perfect, every problem feels like an injustice. If you understand that challenges are part of being alive, every obstacle becomes an opportunity to practice wisdom. That is why Stoics rarely asked, "Why me?" Instead, they asked, "What does virtue require of me now?" There is incredible freedom in that question. It shifts your attention away from blame and toward action. It reminds you that no matter what happens, your next choice is still yours. Your circumstances may limit your options, but they never completely remove your ability to choose your response. That is where your power lives. Perhaps you've spent years believing you weren't smart enough, not attractive enough, not talented enough, not successful enough. Maybe you've compared yourself to people who seem to have everything figured out. Maybe you've spent so much time chasing the approval of others that you've forgotten how to approve of yourself. If that's true, I want you to remember something Seneca once wrote. Luck is what happens when preparation meets opportunity. Your future will not be built by waiting until you feel worthy. It will be built by acting despite your doubts. Confidence is not something that arrives before action. Confidence is created through action. Every difficult conversation you have, every promise you keep to yourself, every morning you choose discipline over excuses, every time you get back up after failure, you are casting a vote for the person you are becoming. That is how identity is built, not in one dramatic moment, but in thousands of ordinary decisions. One of the greatest misconceptions about Stoicism is that it teaches people to become emotionless. Nothing could be further from the truth. The Stoics loved deeply, they cared deeply. They experienced grief, joy, fear, excitement, disappointment, and hope. The difference was that they refused to let those emotions dictate their actions. They understood that feelings are temporary, character is lasting. A person who acts with integrity while afraid is courageous. A person who acts with kindness while angry is disciplined. A person who remains honest when lying would be easier is virtuous. That is what Stoicism is really about. Not becoming less human, but becoming the highest version of yourself. Imagine meeting yourself 5 years from now, not the version with the biggest bank account, not the version with the most followers, not the version everyone admires. Imagine meeting the version of yourself who has mastered patience, who no longer compares themselves to everyone else, who keeps their word, who remains calm under pressure, who has learned to let go of what cannot be controlled, who walks through life with quiet confidence instead of desperate validation. Wouldn't that version of you be far more successful than someone who has everything but still feels empty? Marcus Aurelius believed so. He once wrote, "Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be one." That may be one of the most powerful lessons ever written. Stop waiting to feel enough before living. Stop waiting for perfect conditions before taking action. Stop waiting for everyone else's approval before becoming yourself. Your life is happening now, not someday, not when you finally lose the weight, not when you finally get promoted, not when someone finally recognizes your value. now, because the truth is this: you will never think your way into confidence. You must act your way into it. You will never compare your way into peace. You must practice gratitude. You will never earn enough praise to silence an inner critic that refuses to listen. Instead, you must change the voice inside your own mind. As Epictetus once reminded his students, no man is free who is not master of himself. The greatest victory is not becoming richer than everyone else. It is becoming stronger than your own fears. It is waking up each morning knowing that your worth no longer depends on applause, that your peace no longer depends on circumstances, that your identity no longer depends on comparison. Because when you reach that point, something incredible happens. You stop chasing happiness, and you begin living it. You stop trying to prove yourself, and you begin expressing yourself. You stop fearing failure, and you begin embracing growth. You stop asking, "Am I enough?" and you start asking, "Am I living according to my values today?" That single question has the power to transform your entire life. Remember, your value has never been determined by your achievements, your appearance, your income, or other people's opinions. Your value is reflected in your character, your choices, and the courage to keep moving forward even when life is difficult. The Stoics understood this thousands of years ago. Now it's your turn to live it. If this video inspired you and gave you a new perspective on your life, make sure you subscribe to the channel, like this video, and leave a comment below telling me which Stoic lesson resonated with you the most. I'd love to hear your thoughts and experiences. Stay tuned for more videos on psychology, Stoicism, and timeless wisdom that will help you become a stronger, wiser, and better version of yourself. Until next time, remember this: you don't become enough by proving your worth to the world. You discover you were enough the moment you stop letting the world define your worth.